Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Ox Talks. It's Friday, December 22nd, 2023. Hope all of you are having a productive day today, the end of the work week before Christmas on Monday. Thank you all for taking the time to watch these videos. I appreciate you subscribing to this channel, liking the videos, hitting the bell notification button, and most importantly, sharing the videos with your family and friends. And those that you care about, trying to wake them up as to what's unfolding here. And the stories I'm going to share with you today, do not bode well for the economy, for the consumer, for the housing market. And this is how we're going to start 2024. I was out at a store earlier, just wanted to pick up a few things, last minute stuff. And I got to the checkout counter, and the line was probably a 40-minute wait to check out. So the consumers are, you wouldn't know that they're all tapped, well, not all, but they are tapped out, and people had no problems, even though it's raining here today in this area, no problems putting on the raincoats and going out and swiping those credit cards a couple days before Christmas. So let me jump into a couple of news stories I thought were worthwhile sharing with everybody today. The first one, we've talked about the crash of existing home sales. In November, they were at an all-time low, and there was a lot of stories out there saying, well, new home sales were really keeping things afloat, that the home builders sentiment was remaining high. And that was kind of the other pillar, right? Well, today we got news that the other pillar has just been knocked out. U.S., this is from Zero Hedge, says U.S. new home sales crash in November despite plunging rates, right? That's the whole narrative from the real estate community saying rates are coming down. Now's the time to run out and get a house so you don't miss out. This says, while existing home sales did bounce modestly off record lows in November, it has been the strength of new home sales with buyers heavily subsidized by the home builders that has held up the housing market. And if you recall, when JB and I were down in Texas a few months ago visiting Aaron, it was a tiny homes video we did. We met with a representative from Lennar, and she confirmed that even for those tiny homes, which is a much smaller purchase price, that home builder was providing incentives and buying down the rate to entice people to get in and buy a new home. It says, and while mortgage rates have declined rapidly, they remain massively high relative to the effective mortgage rate for all Americans. We know that. That difference is the subsidy that home builders have to fill to enable buyers, and it says that's a huge subsidy. And of course, what it does is it cuts into home builder profits. So how much can they keep offering these kind of subsidies before they're just simply not making any money on selling these new homes? I think we're getting pretty darn close to that. It says the last few months have been very choppy for new home sales, but November clarified that home builders just hit a wall on their subsidization. New home sales crashed, listen to this, 12.2% month on month, the biggest month-on-month drop since April of 2022. That dragged the year-over-year change to just 1.4%. And the article goes on to say, 9 out of the 10 months have seen downward revisions to the new home sales as seasonally adjusted. New home sales fell in the South by the most, followed by the West. The Northeast and the Midwest saw increased sales, it says. The new home sales printed 590,000, well below the 690,000 expected, the lowest since November of 22, catching down to the existing home sales reality. So let's see how this plays out. Now you have existing home sales and new home sales crashing going into the new year. You're going to see, also a flood, from my perspective, a wave of defaults for consumers that bought homes at these higher rates that simply can't afford to make the payment. And we're going to start seeing a lot of distressed sales also hit the market, and that's going to further compound the problem. Let's talk about the consumer and the U.S. third quarter GDP growth, another estimate was provided with a revision today. Actually, I saw it yesterday from MarketWatch. It says U.S. third quarter GDP growth trimmed to 4.9%, with consumer spending not quite as strong. And we're going to discuss the consumer portion of this, because what this article says from MarketWatch is that consumer spending accounts for 70% of GDP. And when you have a failing and flailing consumer, that's going to continue to hit the GDP bottom line. This says the numbers. U.S. economy expanded at a revised 4.9% annual pace in the third quarter, a surprising burst of growth that appears to have tapered off at year's end. So things are getting worse, not better. It says growth of domestic product, the official scorecard for the economy, was reduced from a previously reported 5.2% in the government's third estimate. The key details: consumer spending. The main engine of the economy was not as strong as it first appeared: consumer spending. The increase in third quarter outlays was lowered again to 3.1% annual clip from an originally reported 4%. You know, when they revise it down from 4% to 3.1%, they're off almost 25%. So, you know, every time we get the second and third revisions, the numbers are getting worse. So let's discuss consumer spending for just a couple minutes here, because it dovetails into an article I saw on Zero Hedge that came out today, and the holidays. And it says consumers are dreading the holidays. 1 in 3 go into debt to pay for holiday shopping. It says last year, and this is comparing year over year, which is important. Last year, a survey from LendingTree found that about 1/3 of Americans plan to go into debt during the holidays. The situation is a lot worse in 2023 this year. A study by the Achieve Center of Consumer Insights found that half of all respondents will use credit card to pay for the holidays this year. It says the survey results align with Credit News reporting on consumer debt trends over the past 3 months. American credit card debt is at an all-time high. More consumers are requesting credit limit increases, and low-income households are close to maxing out their credit cards before Christmas, it says. There's a mountain of data suggesting Americans are considering going deeper into debt. About 1 in 4 Americans takes on additional debt each month, according to a survey by Clever Real Estate. Roughly half, 48%, use their credit cards to pay for everyday living expenses such as food and rent. And then, so they're running up their credit cards to pay for necessities. At some point in time, the credit cards get maxed out. And then what do? They can't apply for any more credit cards. They're too credit heavy. They're too leveraged. They can't afford to make even the payments on those credit cards. So Americans' bleak outlook on the holidays could carry into next year as a weakening jobs market and depleting savings start to affect spending habits. And again, to repeat the same statistic from a few minutes ago, consumer wallets account for 70% of GDP. So when spending dries up, the economy usually follows. So what do you think is going to create a miraculous turnaround with the consumer? We know that real wages are not keeping up with the cost of everyday goods. We know that there are thousands of layoffs taking place across this country over the past year, and it's going to be accelerating into next year. So this seems like we have a whole lot of culminating economic factors here and events that is going to take us into the new year. Hope the information is relevant for you to hear. Obviously, from our perspective, what can we do? What should we be doing to do our part? It seems to me the answer to that question is very simple. Stop getting into debt to the extent that you possibly can. Stop using those credit cards. If you use the credit cards, pay them off every month. Use them to get the points or the miles or whatever, and then pay them off. It's when you start using those cards and then you say, well, I won't pay the full balance this month. I'll just pay half the balance. Then next month we'll say, well, I can't pay all the balance. I'll pay a little less of the balance, cover the interest. And that starts to snowball. And once that snowball starts rolling downhill, it's very, very difficult to right that ship and to change course, especially with the rates the way they are right now on credit cards, credit card debt. So, I get sometimes people say, well, what's your solution? I mean, this is one thing that we have to do is to stop incurring debt, stop fueling this problem. And to the extent that we can, start paying down existing debt. Come up with a plan, New Year's resolution, to start to reduce the debt levels that you have going into the new year. If you're one of those that's fortunate enough not to have any debt or any revolving type debt, then you're in a great situation. For me, that's pretty much where I'm at. I just don't carry revolving debt. If I use a credit card, I use it for the benefit and the ease of using the credit card, and then I pay it all off. So try to modify habits. That's the first step. Obviously, if you are unable to stop using credit cards because you're funding things like food and utilities and rent with your credit cards, then it's probably time to do everything you can the new year to explore trying to increase your revenues into your household somehow. And if that's with a side hustle, you've got to somehow, break that loop and do your best to create some additional revenue, starting your own business, starting your own side hustle. Those are things that I think are very, very important and will be even more important coming into the new year. With this all being said, I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll try to get a couple videos up throughout the weekend, and we'll keep watch on things as they unfold. I will talk to you all very soon. Have a great night. Bye.